the 1967 Pontiac Firebird 400 that we're going to be customizing. I wanted to make it kind of a project car, and sort of like a mechanic project car, something that stayed in the garage and worked on whenever he had time or money or whatever. So it's going to be kind of fun. There's going to be some rust. As you can see, I already notched out some rust spots on there that I wanted to work with. It's going to be a little grimy looking, some rust, like I said, some dents, and maybe a couple like replaced panels that are a different color, messed up hood and roof, that kind of thing. So so let's jump into it. We'll take this apart. As you can see, I already drilled out the rivets. I'll go over that in another video. I wasn't expecting to make videos. I just thought we could kind of start getting into it, but then I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll make a YouTube channel. So so here he is, the 1967 Pontiac Firebird 400. So as you can see, I have it all taken apart now. Let's get this puppy in some paint stripper and see how she goes. So now we got the vehicle ready to get paint stripped. Always wear gloves. This is a great little brush for it. You can really get in. It's nice and hard. You can get into all the crevices. So let's get this going. Get a good glob of paint stripper on there. We're just gonna let that sit for a little while. So we got this all nice and let it sit for probably a good 10 minutes or so. It doesn't have to go that long. You can already see it's starting to really come off nice. I'm just gonna get it with this brush, and you can see I introduced a new friend over here. Got the toothbrush and some warmish water. So the big thing is getting out these those little cracks and crevices. So that's already looking really good. And then we'll introduce it to Mr. Toothbrush over here. Really start to clean her up. That is looking like it did a really good job already. Not much. There's a couple little in the fins there, but overall I'm happy with how well that stripped. Pretty clean. Gonna have to get in here with some picks and wire brush and stuff like that. So I'm gonna rinse this off nice and we'll keep going. So we got it rinsed off now, and then I'm just gonna get in here. I just got like a wood screw, and we'll introduce Mr. Dremel here in a minute. But I just want to see how much of this I could actually get out before I bring the wire brush in, because this is it's really loose in here. Too bad. We'll get the wire brush in on it. There we have it. So we just a wood screw and a wire brush on the Dremel, and she's looking pretty spiffy. So we got her casting all nice and ready to go. She's nice and cleaned up, ready for primer. I'm just using this. I like this stuff. It's the Rust-Oleum. It's gray. It's nice because it's a good solid primer, and it's also, you can do it nice and light. So it's just a rattle can, nothing crazy. So see that? And just nice light sprays. You just want to coat it. Because we're doing the salt on this, I don't want to get too crazy. Focus there with the primer. And also because we're doing a couple different effects with it. As far as rust, we're doing chrome, we're going to do a couple other paints. So, I mean, that's about it. It's really just a nice, easy prime. So I'm attempting something here that I have not tried before. Normally my rust and stuff I would just dry brush, but I wanted to try this method because this is just kind of a, you know, supposed to be a project car in real life. So this is going to be a project car as a Hot Wheels. So what it is it's a salt method for rusting. So basically, when I first heard this, I thought you put rust on it or put salt on it and leave it outside because that's how you rust a car in the north. So that's not the case. What you do is you use some water and dab some water on here, and then you put salt down and then spray where you want the rust, then spray it with whatever color you're going to finish the car with, and then you brush the salt off at the end with a little toothbrush. So I attempted this with this pink Himalayan salt, very coarse, which is what I saw most people using, but I think the scale for the 1/64th, like what Matchbox and Hot Wheels is, this is not going to work. So I tried it. It really did not stick or work very well. So now I have a couple different things here. I have a ground sea salt, so you can see that's finer, and then I have a very fine pickling salt, which is you can see the grains of it there. So I'm going to try each of these in different spots and see how they go. I was able to get the water on really well, just filling the brush and dabbing just like you would with paint. So what I'm trying to do is get this panel here and try the coarser sea salt. It's not really, I mean, it's working, it definitely is. So that'll work for that spot. And then I have another spot on this side that I'm gonna do. Probably shouldn't knock it so hard. I just want a little bit on the bottom of this door. We'll see what the salt provides me. Yeah. I don't know, maybe too much water, or maybe I'm just not putting enough salt on. So the salt is supposed to stick then, it shouldn't be that thick, this salt, but I don't know, we'll see how this works. Like I said, this is the first time I'm trying it. And then I wanted some on the roof, and probably, let's do the trunk first. I wanted some on the edge of this trunk. I'm gonna try the pickling salt on the trunk. And then it kind of sprays off when you hit it with the spray, which I'm using this. This is close to the to a stock color, which was called Gulf Turquois, that actually came on this particular Firebird GTO, whatever you want to call it. So I'm gonna do the roof here, and I'm hoping that most of this sprays off as I'm spraying the car to paint. That would be cool if it did. So I'm gonna use the pickling salt on the roof. Yeah, it just seems like it doesn't really, I don't know, we'll see. It looks like we're gonna let it dry and see how she goes. I don't know, what do you think? Put a little more, maybe on this front corner, I guess. I'm also using some browns and oranges to, yeah, I'll get a little bit under here. Using some browns and just dip it. How's that? There we go. Getting some browns and oranges in there too to kind of make it a little more realistic rust. Obviously, is not just straight up red. It's good when you're doing rust, when you're painting rust, to use a lot of reference photos. So there's my salted up car. I don't know, we'll see how this works. It might not work at all. It might work great. I don't know. So we'll let her dry. So here she is, relatively dry as I think it needs to be for this process. There we go. So what I'm using is this Tester's little mini cans. It's great for this kind of stuff, and you can see on the wall a little bit. This pretty well matches the stock color, which was called Gulf Turquois. Oh, and what's this right here? What's this? That's new. Check me out on Instagram at Rust Belt Diecast. Huh. Get all the latest on projects and stuff like that. So we're gonna give this salt thing a shot. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but I don't know. Looks like it's really, I don't know. We'll see. It's what it's supposed to do is kind of soak through parts of the salt. Oop, not really focusing well. But this one we're going to make sure that this is a good coat, because we can't do this again once the salt gets knocked off. Just going to make sure we get all the little edges, crevices and such, and underneath, because this is the coat that's going to show. There we go. So she's pretty good there. So I can see where it's going to be like a little rusty spots around when we end up knocking off this with the paintbrush. Sorry, a little spot there. So that'll be cool, and then we'll come back with the orange and brown and touch it up. So I'm going to go through this thing again a little bit, fine tooth comb kind of thing, but yeah, looks good. So now that it's been drying after painting, salting, and then painting, the next step in the process is to apparently hit it with this toothbrush. So we'll do that. Wow, that's really in there, but wow, that is a cool effect. Wow, I really got it. Probably shouldn't have let it dry this long, but yeah, that is really, really cool. I like that a lot. I have to get a stiffer brush to get all this off, but wow, look at that. Probably don't have to clip this anymore. It's off the pituitary rongeur. That's the name of that thing. That is a really, really cool modeling effect. Wow, look at that hood or the roof. That looks sick. Yep, this is exactly the look I was going for. So, hey, if you have a new method that you've never tried and it's really weird and you don't know if it'll work, just give it a shot, man. Get some salt off of here. Wow, that is dope. Wow. We don't want to scrape, you know, apparently you don't want to scrape. Oh, even these couple spots that I had it on the hood, I just did a little spritz on the hood, and you can see that looks very, very realistic. Wow. I'm only going to need a little bit of fill-in paint and stuff here. Let's get my fingerprints on some of this stuff. I don't know how to fix that, but figure it out together. No, I do know how to fix it, but I'm not gonna do that right this minute. Even these parts here that just look kind of bubbled, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's gonna get chrome, so that's gonna obviously need to get picked out with something here. Blade of some kind. That might work. Yep, there we go. So like there's some of the stuff like around the headlights that I'm gonna have to go ahead and pick at to get it good. Might even bring in Mr. Woodscrew again. Hi everybody, I'm Mr. Woodscrew. I pick at stuff. And get some of these guys out around there, but even a little bit of rust on there looks good. I love this edge being rusted like that, and this thing looks beat up. I love it. Love it. Pick all that out. Probably shouldn't let it sit this long, but man, what a nice effect that is. That one's going in the arsenal. That is a beautiful rusting effect that we got out of this thing. I'm very, very impressed with that. I'm gonna have to get a stiffer toothbrush though next time I do it. So I'm doing this and I'm afraid it's gonna scratch because I already scratched up here. I'm gonna have to fix that. But it's where the paint or the salt really piled up is where it got the best
effects right on a door and on the roof. Those are just awesome. So I'm going to finish picking away at this, and then we'll go through with some brown and orange, and we'll be pretty much done with this guy. I might touch up let's do some interior work on it too, just to give it a little more spark. I think that this was a grayish interior, so white would be really cool. So we'll mess with that, but yeah, what a cool effect. Now that our initial paint chipping is done, we can start kind of patting in the rust on this little guy here. So what I'm doing is I just have this chunk of foam that I kind of rounded off at the tip. I have some smaller ones too that I'm gonna be using possibly, but for right now I'm just using this guy. And what I'm doing is I have this orange and brown, and these are just the regular acrylic paint. It's very easy to work with. So I'm just taking a little bit of orange, getting up on the top here. You gotta have like a little like a palette thing to work with to get the colors right, because you're gonna be mixing. So I just want to get a little more orange. You're looking for like a rusty color, obviously. And then I have over on the paper towel, I'm just gonna dab this off until it gets mostly off. And this is just a dry brush technique, so I'm going to just get in around the edges. That's a little much. Get in around the edges of the rusty parts, and you're just blending everything together. And ideally, you don't want a lot on your sponge, and you want to be blotting as opposed to wiping. As you can see, if you get a little much, that's what's nice about these paints, is you can just kind of swipe it off real quick before it dries. You can get a little off to the edges and kind of dab it with your finger. That's looking, you can see that's already looking more like rust right there. So I'll continue down the A-frame here, kind of across the door top. And it's a pretty tedious process, but I'm rotating the sponge around so that I'm getting different effects, different amounts of paint. So you can already see on this edge how it changes as it kind of goes down. But you're just catching wherever you think rust is going to be. That's what's nice about these bubbles that have built up from the salt, is I can go in and just hit the bubbles, and the bubbles are typically what would be the orangey kind of color. Not much there. I really like the way that's looking on this door. And I made this part cut out, so I'm going to go in the back and give it a little bit of extra attention there. But yeah, so this just, you can tell like the paint chipping made it look cool, but this just really sets it off. And since this part up here I don't want a ton of color, it's right on the hood, but it should get a little, I just want more orange in the middle than red. There we go. There we go. So around colors, and then you can see I dribbled a little bit of paint down the side here to give it a kind of running effect. So you can take just the edge of the sponge and drag it down a little bit. A little more there. So it'll give it sort of like a paint running down, or rust, kind of rust water running down the side. And we're gonna chrome a good chunk of this, so wherever there's no paint is gonna end up being chrome. So it looks like the chrome is rusty too, but we're gonna go over the top of the rust, and then we'll probably come back with the sponge and hit it again with the chrome. So I'm gonna go through and detail the rest of this out. But that's pretty much the process. It still needs to dry a bit, but this is the effects of the rust. Oh yeah, I also painted in the black front fenders because that was what was stock on these. So you can see I added a little bit more damage to the hood in terms of rust and wear and stuff. Touched a little bit of the fenders where I want to have some rust coming through the chrome. But I love how this part right here turned out. How you can see paint, but there's like a chunk of rust above it. I really love how this turned out with the rust chunks. And what's nice is down here along the fender, that's chrome. I'm gonna paint that chrome and then go in with the pad and touch up the rust around those chunks there too, because that'll be coming through the chrome. Just noticed I need to hit this little spot right there. There you go, much better. So there she is, a little bit more of the green. Yeah, that's nice. You just see how easy that is, just comes right together. It needs to be more padded than anything. So yeah, so I just go through like a lot and just stare at parts of it and touch them up as needed. I just noticed that little area inside there didn't get any. So that's better. So that's basically it. And then you can see the hood, I've got a little bit more damage to the hood. But I like how it turned out. We are ready to chrome. I have this Tester's chrome paint, my little itty bitty brush that we're going to use to chrome out this front end and a couple other features on our Firebird here. I did the base, did some rust on the base, and then we're going to chrome these edges, and then we're going to do the chrome over the same way that we did with the rest of the rust effects. So we'll do a little bit of the acrylic paint on the rest of it, just like we did here. So let's get into it. I love doing this part, but man, it is very, very tedious work. But when you can get that chrome paint to just flow right, man, it turns out really sharp. And what's cool about this, doing the salt for the first time, I'm starting to see how nice that actually makes the chrome look. So you see there's a little bubble under the chrome there too that will hit with some orange on top. That'll make it look like the bubbled up, starting to rust kind of chrome. Because I didn't want this to be super overly rusty as far as the chrome parts go. This is gonna be great to come back and paint in this chrome. I think it's really gonna pop once I get all the rust painted into the chrome. But that's the process of it. It's turning out really good. On the front end here, we'll do the chrome again, all the way down and under the car, and then I'm gonna chrome a little bit on the base as well, so that it just blends together nicely. Because this was all chrome through here. Spin it around. Try not to knock over the paint. So like I said, I've never really filmed myself doing this stuff before, and it's all kind of new technique for me to film while I'm doing this. So I actually knocked over my paint because I was turning this and not looking, in the magnifying glass on my helping hands knocked over the paint. So that's nice. What's nice about these helping hands here, some people call them alligator clips. If you have a kind of a shaky hand like me, They're very easy to just hold on to. You can rest your hand on it and get a nice clean line. The other thing about this Tester's chrome paint is it flows so smoothly. So you can see, nice clean line there. I haven't recorded this yet for the channel, so I wanted to do that on this build. I'm gonna do the chrome out the wheels, and of course I'm gonna come back and hit them with some rust later on, but it's a very tedious process. If I can get this to focus in the right place, there we go. It'll stay, I don't know. But you're just drawing a line down the wheel, this is just a great way to clean up these stock Hatchbox or Hot Wheels wheels. I think they look so cool. They really look like stock vehicle wheels. Always get the little hub in the middle, good to go. So those are the spindles, and then you want to come back in and just hit the edge of the rim here. And it's kind of nice, the paint just sort of flows to the ridged parts, which are the edge of the wheels. If you go a little bit over, it's not that big of a deal. You can always fill that back in. The furnace always seems to kick on right when I start recording. Just loves to do that. See, my hand's getting a little shaky. I've been doing chrome for probably about a half an hour now, so. But these helping hands things are great because they can hold that for you, give you something steady to lean on. So there you go. Just a stock wheel. Looks all nice and fancy and new now. And you can see on the other side I did, I chromed the bumpers and sides as well as the rest of the wheels, so that I can do some rust effects on the bottom too. The devil is in the details, and on this particular vehicle that's very much the case. We're going to be going in here where we chromed. You can see that? We chromed down here, and we're going to be filling in where the rust is. Now again, we have a few different implements to do that. This one is so tiny, and I just cut it to a little point. This one is probably the one that I'm going to use for detailing around the windows and stuff. So I already have a little mix going on here. I'm just going to get in on the bottom of the door and kind of blend it up to where we already had rust. Same process, just smaller. And we want to make sure that we cover the chrome, because you can see where the chrome is coming down and it's going to rust. Well, we want a little bit showing through, but not a lot, because chrome rusts differently than steel, or chromed steel rusts differently than, you know, painted steel. So we don't want it to be overly, but we want most of the rust to be towards the top so that you can still see some of the chrome through it, and we can even get like a couple of these front edges and stuff. Just want to get a little bit on there, because that's a spot that will definitely be rusted out, is that the very front of the quarter panel here. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing. I'll turn it over this way. And you just want to pull so that it pulls a little bit of the paint back and gives it that sort of bubbled effect, which I think we got going here pretty well. You don't want to get it painted looking. If you start brushing with the sponge or anything like that, you will get kind of a painted look. Now I'm going to move to a slightly bigger one, but I'm still going to roll it so I can get a little bit of a point. I'm going to go in here. So on the original vehicle, the 67 Firebird, the chrome is really interesting, and I hope you can see how I matched it to the original. It's thicker here, and then it thins out as it goes to the front, and it's the complete opposite in the back. It's the same all the way along. So I think that's kind of an interesting aspect. I'm just going to cut this a little bit more so we have smaller working area there. So we'll still go in, get the brown and orange. I'm going heavier orange on the chrome just because that's more of the color that you would see on chrome. And we'll just get up, just give it a little pop here and there. But like I said, the chrome is mostly going to have more to it than would say the other parts that were painted. So I think that needs a little bit less. Perfect. So I mean, that's all it takes is to get the chrome to look rusty, is just a little touch of that paint. I'm gonna go move this to the rear, so it'll be easier to work on the back chrome piece. Oops, I guess it won't be easier. Let's see. There we go. And then using the same larger one, I'm gonna get a good amount of orange on my little palette. These backs of these work well for like painting and stuff, but not so much for this kind of a project, but that's okay. So there's a lot going on here, so we're gonna get that pretty rusty, and then just the rest of it just sort of randomly. This was a big rust spot back here, so we're gonna make sure that that's nice and rusty. But I mean, overall, really doesn't need much going on there. A little more of the brown on the top there. And I think we're gonna be pretty golden. Yeah, like that little spot there. And you can just get your finger in and kind of pluck it. And you can pull out more if you need more or whatever. But yeah, I think that looks cool. I think this would kind of go along the ridge there. And then around the windows, there's not a ton, because if you think about it, it's not really, it's gonna be where water or salt sits, mostly salt. And so it's not really gonna be up on these windows, but we do wanna pull the roof section that was rusty down. So that's important to get that back in order here. And the front piece there wasn't so rusty. So you just turn it a little bit here. Just pluck it with your finger there. That's gonna be nice, and we'll just fade it in. Too much orange there. That's okay, because we just pluck, 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 and we're good to go. This chrome paint was the Tester's chrome paint is just awesome. Once it dries, it looks really, really nice and real. So it takes the rust effects really well. As you can see, look at the base here, down here. That's amazing. And speaking of the base, we'll spin it around and we're gonna do the same thing here. So that's the bottom. Now this one we can really get crazy and rust it out good, because almost all the bottom of the vehicle is gonna be rusty. So it's a little too much orange for me there. But we'll get it in and just really, really rust it out. You probably wouldn't see a lot of the chrome on the base here anyways. So just blotting it in there. Same thing with the front and the other side. So here's the other side. Now this is upside down. So like on the vehicle itself where there was paint, I was kind of blotting off on the towel like that, but for this you don't really have to. You just kind of loading her up. Just watch the tires. We're gonna do something else to the, I can't decide if I want to paint over the chrome on the rims or not, but I'm sure that'll come to me eventually. So this is gonna be, that's the right side, so you can see the bottom. I already did a bit of the chrome, or a bit of the rust on the bottom there, but now we're getting to this is the front end. I'm sorry, back end. So we're just gonna get some rustiness going down here, and you're gonna see a lot more of the orange on these kind of larger areas on the sides too. You can see that, sides. I'll get the other side here. Nice on the corners. Corners are a big rust spot. And then I didn't do it all over on that, and then we'll flip it around to the front end. Which I really like the way that this particular casting has the plastic on the front end, is it comes to a point. That's just like the original vehicle. So that's nice, because sometimes with these newer ones you don't get that, and it's just they just used like generic bases for all of their kind of like sports or muscle cars. So there's a base, and you see the other one in the background there. It's looking pretty sharp. I'm just gonna retouch that a little bit because my finger slipped on it. And then once this all dries, I think we're just about ready to assemble. I might get in here with like a toothpick or something and do a little bit of rust on the wheels, but I'm thinking probably not, because that's not typically something that would rust up. It would more chip and fade, but I kind of like it just like that. It's almost like they just replaced the wheels or something, because this car is called One Owner, and it's because there was only one owner on the vehicle. So I'm gonna go across and fix the rest of this chrome around here, get the rest of it rustied up, and then we'll put her together. So here is our interior. It's rather detailed, so I'm going to try to get all the details we can pulled out of this one, but to begin with, we're just going to paint it with our usual black interior paint here. I researched a little bit on these, and for this particular color, which is called, again, Gulf Turquois, for this particular color, the most common interior was black. So we're going to do black, but then we're going to do a little bit of details. So if you can see here, there's some, there you go, there's some seat belts in there. We're going to get some silver in on the seat belts to pull those out. There's some little details inside the doors which we're going to try to touch, and also on the dash, of course, there's a couple other spots. And after a little bit of research, I found that there's actually chrome on the steering wheel as well. This is just a flat black enamel, and it covers really well, dries almost like it says flat, but on this material it dries almost like an eggshell. So just go in and do her up. We'll speed this up, I guess. And that's that. Before we start assembly, I just wanted to show what we did here with the interior. So I did get the chrome look on the steering wheel thanks to some Sharpies. I just painted the whole thing chrome and then filled it in with Sharpies in the black parts. And then the little seat belts. And of course, I am from an era when windows actually had cranks. So you'd say roll down your window, and it meant literally roll it down. So I added in the window cranks there too, and the dash got a bunch of little chrome details and stuff like that. And one of the things I always do if it is a manual is give them a different colored shifter ball there. So that got chromed out too. So that's the interior for our Firebird, and now we're gonna get the assembly together and finish her up. So we are ready for final assembly here. These are all the parts for the 67 Pontiac Firebird 400. You guys watched this whole thing come together. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all those YouTubers that are out there doing this daily, and I really hope that I can get more into this and produce more of these videos that are kind of how-to, but also step-by-step, but also learning on the job kind of thing. As a lot of these processes, like I said many times. I'm just getting back into this hobby after being out of it for so long, and there's been so many crazy developments in the hobby since then. So many different things to do. So thank you so much to all those people out there on YouTube that have been doing this for a long time and really paved the way for me to jump back into the hobby. So let's get back into it here. As usual, I lost one of the screws as I was painting. So, a little extra detail that I did here was I painted the roof of the car. I know you don't really see that because the windshield and glass is kind of opaque, but I just thought, you know, see that you pop that in, and now the roof is black, just like the details, or just like the interior. So just a little something extra. So then we'll pop in our freshly made interior. You can already see it coming together. I kind of love that scuff on the windshield. It just adds to the motif. So here's the base, pops right in, very nice. And then all we need to do now, I should lay something down here before we really screw this all together. And sorry about the elephants upstairs jumping around. So we'll get that screwed in, and then a little extra because I have gone a little overboard on this vehicle already. Little extra, sorry about the focus, a little extra thing I wanted to touch up on the base before she's completely put together. Oops. It's not going in there. There we go. I just wanted to get a little bit of the rust look on the screws as well. Kind of give them a little more of the rust motif. So there he is. I'll do a little walk around thing after this, but I just gotta say I'm so happy to have completed this, and I really love the way that it turned out. And so we've come to the conclusion of another build here at Rust Belt Diecast Customs. This is the 1967 Pontiac Firebird 400. Loved this build. This was super fun. From the chrome, the rusty chrome on the front, like the degraded just chrome on the front of this vehicle, to the busted up windshield, to the rust stains coming down the side, to the nice crusty finish on the door and the chrome below, the paint chipped roof that was all rusted in and crusty. This was just a really fun build. I want to do a lot more of these. These are the more time consuming ones, obviously, but totally worth it. All in all, it was, you know, a few hours involved in this, but I really enjoyed every second of it. Had lots of fun. Learned a new technique with that salt spray paint chipping. It was something new that I wanted to try, and it worked out really well. That door, I accidentally dunked it in the chrome paint, don't even ask, and had to repair it, but I think it turned out really good, as well as the I got a little on the tire there. Well, what are you gonna do? That's we'll call that mud. But the front end here, this corner, looks incredible. I'm really proud of that part right there. That really looks like rust crumbling off the car. So I'm very excited about this vehicle. I'm excited to add it to my collection. It was a super fun build. So thank you everybody for watching. Like the video, comment. I love reading your comments and chatting with you guys. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. And thank you so much for watching Rust Belt Diecast Customs. See you next time.